Hi everyone, welcome to the second video in I Am Illuminated's Fundamental series. These videos are meant to be short, little insights into the philosophy behind I Am Illuminated and the services that we offer. Now the second video is a very important one because it focuses on emotional connection, and more specifically why I focus on emotional connection in both my intuitive demonstrative readings as well as in my one-on-one coaching. In addition to talking about emotional connection, I'm also going to bring in another side to, I think, the bigger picture of how I see each one of us as individuals and how I see how we're all connected. And that is what I call refraction. And many people are not going to understand what refraction means right off the bat when I refer to it to humans. Refraction tends to, we would talk about light being refracted through something similar to this, either a cut glass or a diamond. And I will discuss in a little bit greater detail in just a moment as to how our emotional connection can help us actually shine and refract our spirit out into the world around us to help illuminate the reality we were meant to manifest for ourselves. So, getting on to the topic of emotional connection. Why I focus specifically on emotional connection is because I do feel that it is necessary for us to feel in order for us to actively engage in a meaningful and fulfilling way with our lives. So if you think about it, let's say you can think about happiness. So in your mind, you can think of a moment that makes you happy or think of something that would make you happy. And yet without feeling it, and so there is a difference between what you're thinking and what you're feeling. Without feeling what that happiness would feel like in your body, you would really never understand that what happiness is to you. You could, again, think of an instance like, let's say, being with your partner or giving, a hug to your child, and that might it might come up with a happy thought. But if you were never going to bring that down into the emotional core of yourself, you're never going to fully experience that moment. And that's why I equate the emotional side to ourselves with the spiritual. You'll hear me talk about the mental plane, the physical plane, and then I will say the emotional spiritual plane, because I do believe that those are one and the same. The emotional plane is really where we begin to connect not only our external environment, but to source energy, and in doing so, connect us with both sides of that equation. So I've noticed, and actually I experienced this myself personally at a certain point in my life, where I was not emotionally connected to what I was doing. I would be going through day-to-day motions, going to work, coming home and seeing my husband, and going through the day-to-day activities that keep your life going. But I was not emotionally connecting to those aspects, and actually to any of those aspects, meaning I was not going to work and actively, with intent and awareness, engaging on an emotional level with my work. I was feeling anxious and frustrated and overworked and tired at times, but not connected. And in addition to that, that was the same with going into my personal life. So going home with my partner, I was not doing the same thing. So I was not emotionally, with awareness, trying to connect with that other person. And this is where I've seen a lot of people struggle, where if you're not emotionally connecting, meaning you are not feeling into situations and understanding your part and how you play into it. So instead of just clocking in at work, going through your motions, whether you're at the computer or you're in a customer service job or you're a nurse, and you're just waiting to get to the end of the day. and you're not actively looking at how am I bringing myself into every situation, into every interaction, you lose the meaning in every situation and every interaction that you experience throughout the day. And that's how people miss meaning. They miss having purpose. They miss feeling fulfilled. And then they just kind of go on and on and on, and all of a sudden years go by. So, how do you connect emotionally with everything? Especially when you're in a place where you feel like you're not specifically, let's say, inspired by anything. I did go through a period of this, actually an example of this in my life, where when I was faced with time off after getting a lot of free time, after getting laid off from a position, I realized at that point, after so many years of working so many long hours, and then now all of a sudden I was at a standstill and I had nothing to distract me from looking at my day-to-day life, I realized that I had all this time and I was passionate about nothing. I had no outside hobbies. There was nothing really that inspired me, and that changed my whole outlook on life. I realized that I had been not only emotionally disconnected, but in doing so, I had just been disconnected in general, and how frustrated and, again, just not having that meaningful feeling in the things that I did. I looked back and I almost, felt like I had wasted a portion of my life. Now, I can look back and say that's not the case because it led me to where I am today, but it was the start of a long road to discovering both myself and reconnecting on an emotional level to both myself so that I could then connect myself to the external world. So emotional connection for me is looking at how source spirit, and if you think of source spirit as just light, just pure light, and then you look at yourself. Your physicality is the diamond. It is the piece that is cut in a specific way. And if you look at this, it's very beautiful, actually, in the light of this afternoon sun. But this is what I want you to imagine that you are as a physical being. And the physical being doesn't just mean what you look like. It is where you were born. It's the parents you were born to. It's the people that have surrounded you. It is your physical, what you physically surround yourself with. That is all part of your physical diamond, your physical shape. It is how you were divinely created to be able to take source light and then in your own specific and unique way, refract that, shine that light out like a rainbow into the reality, the world around you. And in doing so, you end up not only highlighting for yourself what your true meaning and divine purpose is, you also shine for others to see, and oftentimes in shining and bringing out your direct connection to source, but in the specific way that you can do that, meaning you will have specific abilities and specific dreams and specific things that are going to be expressed in an outward way that will allow others around you to also see new things and to engage with you. When we don't connect on an emotional level with ourselves and we don't connect to that spiritual side of ourselves, what happens is we end up not only muddling what we shine out into the world, but we muddle how we show ourselves to other people and how other people see us. So I'm going to give you an example of this. Now imagine that you are this, beautiful prism. and you are cut in very specific ways. You have all of these beautiful facets. And let's say those facets are things like you have, a great ability to, be a fantastic manager. You have leadership qualities that are, second to none. Or you're a great parent. Or you actually have physical abilities. Maybe you physically shine in how you push yourself in your physicality. You are an athlete in some way. Or you physically shine the ingenious ideas in specific key areas. And that's how you shine out into the world. That's one of your facets. Now, just imagine if light comes out of us. So just like, I don't know if you guys have seen, an image of this, or even maybe perhaps way back in the day in high school or, elementary school, when you would shine a laser beam into something like this. And it would refract, and instead of just being the single color beam of light that was going into whatever piece of glass or the prism like this, when it came out the other side, it would be a rainbow. And all those different colors could be seen that you cannot see with the naked eye when you're just looking at a single beam of light or a laser beam. And that is what we are. We are meant to refract a specific array of colors that's unique to us. And these colors are meant to be able to, they're all unique. So one person, the way that they're going to refract spirit, their specific spirit is going to be very different from somebody else. And that's because we're all meant to connect together to create almost like a projection of the highest potential of what the human experience can be. And that is different for each one of us because there's different needs for all kinds of different things. So again, one person could shine through pushing themselves in a physical way as an athlete. Somebody could shine in a mental way by coming up with ideas in a key area. Somebody could shine by being a loving, nurturing parent and guardian or manager, or somebody could have the driving spirit to be the innovator. And so it's important that we understand what our specific facets are and how we shine them into the world. And once we discover those aspects of ourselves, emotionally connect with them. And then when you interact with other people or other things like your job or your partner or whatever you choose to do in this world, you understand how to bring that to every situation. You understand how to bring and shine your light in those areas in the way that you're meant to. And in doing so, you highlight exactly who you are to the people and the situations that you are in. But you also feel this incredible ease and sense of fulfillment and oftentimes happiness because you're not trying to hide parts of yourself. So an example of this, and I know I kind of went a roundabout way to get to the example, and I'm sorry I ramble a lot, but an example would be, let's say you were meant to shine one specific color over here, so let's say this is you, and you have a facet over here that takes source light and is meant to shine this beautiful hot pink laser color over here, and to shine a little bit of maybe blue over here. But in reality, this pink side to yourself is what is meant to be seen. It's what's meant to highlight who you are on an amazing level for the whole world to see. Now, if you try to, so let's say you see another person and they seem to be shining blue and they really are like, woo, shining that blue light over there, and you're like, okay, well, I shine a little blue. If you start to, and this can happen through a myriad of things, let's say you don't like shining this pink light out there. Let's say maybe this pink light was seen when you were a child and you thought it was beautiful, and then as soon as you brought it out in front of other people, people said, oh God, that's pink, way too much pink, like put that back, cover that up. And so you cover up that part of yourself because it was chastised or it was mocked, or maybe you didn't quite understand how to control it, so you shined it in an inappropriate way or towards something that it wasn't meant to shine onto, and you didn't get the result you wanted, and so you cover it up. Now imagine what would happen if you covered up a portion of this. Well, the rest of the light that's shining through is going to be pushed out far greater on the side that's not being blocked. And so what ends up happening when we lose that connection, we start to block our emotional core from shining out. We end up pushing all of that light that's coming from source, our spirit, we push it through a part that was not meant to shine in that way for us. So we're blocking our pink side, the pink side that's supposed to, be beautiful and shine out into the world. And so now we're pushing all of that light awkwardly through the blue side that was never meant to shine that brightly. And then what happens is we don't feel like we're being seen the way that on a spiritual and emotional side to ourselves we want to be seen as, that we know we're supposed to be seen as. And then people around us will see us like this and they'll feel the disconnect as well. They'll not quite understand why when they see so much blue, it's not what they're expecting. Or conversely, some of this pink may get muddled with the blue and then it's even more confusing. So let me give you a tangible example of this that could happen in the real world, not just pink and blue colors. So imagine if you are a person who you feel called to support your family. You want to be the provider. You want to be there for your children. You want to be there for your partner. And this is what you feel called to do. This is your pink spotlight. You're a nurturing, loving person who wants to support others. But now you may instead focus on the blue side to yourself. So let's say the nurturing side is, wow, I really want to be with my kids. I love spending time with other people, connecting with my family, being in my home, being there at my kids' soccer practice, being there for my partner when they need time to themselves. But instead of just feeling into that and shining your brightest in that capacity, you push that down and you focus wholly on the blue side, which you associate specifically with work and external work outside of the house. And so you force yourself to put aside this, need to be with your family in the house, doing things with your family. And you say, well, I'm supposed to be a provider. It's not going to provide anything to anybody if I am just in the house. I'm just in the house with my family. So I'm going to focus on going to work, 12 hours a day. And I'm going to work my way up in this corporate chain because that's going to be the way that I can provide for my family. I will provide for them monetarily versus when I feel called to provide for them on an emotional, spiritual side, I'm going to forego that and focus over here on just the work, which takes me out of the home. But still, I think I'm supposed to, again, the pink and the blue is getting muddled. I feel the need to be supportive, but the support is getting misplaced over here because this is what society is really pushing me to shine in. And so what ends up happening is the more this part of yourself is blocked, the more you, again, put your energy, the more the light shines in this work side of your life. And you're pushing everything out there and you're in your corporate job and you're going through the motions and you just don't feel it. You feel tired. Maybe you even feel anxious because you're not getting the response you want from work. You're not getting the promotions you've been struggling to get to, or maybe you have, but once you get those promotions, it's still nothing. It's still meaningless except for that dollar amount that you're bringing home, but you're not actually getting the connection when you're the meaningful, fulfilling joyful connection in every minute that you spent at work, because all you can think about is getting home and being with your family. And so there's this juxtaposition of, I feel like I'm supporting my family and doing this, and I feel I have to, but in reality, I really just want to be home with my family. I want to be in the home with them. I want to be with my family. And then this is where the frustration comes from. This is where the disconnect comes from. This is where, people will have a, midlife crisis and wake up and say, I spent so much time here. I spent no time with my children, and now they're half grown, and I have nothing to show for that personally. I did not experience that personally. I spent all this time over here. Now, this is obviously a specific example to a specific individual. Obviously, each person and each partnership's dynamic is going to be different. Maybe one person wants to work and one person wants to be at home, or both people want to work and both people want to be at home, and so you figure it out. But I'm using this very simple example to show you what happens when you deny the part of yourself that really wants to be expressed, that was meant to be expressed, and not meant to be expressed in this kind of strange way over here because you're blocking a facet of yourself. So for a person who's in this situation where they are more and more frustrated with their position, and now they could look to get another job to try to make more money, thinking that somehow that's going to be the fulfillment that they're looking for. And in reality, it's not until they admit to themselves and start to clean off that facet, they start to re-engage the light out in this way. So you emotionally connect through the spiritual part of yourself that you feel called to express. And you start to look at your life and say, I really do want to be in the home. I want to connect with my family. I want to be there with my children. This might be a bigger conversation with your partner, and understanding that you may be able to forego a little extra money, or forego a pay cut, or a reduction in hours, or working less, or switching roles with your partner, because ultimately you will end up being more beneficial to your family if you're spending more time with them, because that's what will end up giving you meaning. That's where fulfillment lies for you, is being able to go with your child to soccer practice, or being able to help them with their math homework, or just being able to sit and watch a movie with them and laugh, or to be there with your partner to cook dinner at night. And for you, that's what gives you meaning. And no amount of having another job with a higher paying salary is going to ever fulfill that side of yourself. And so you're always going to feel this weird disconnect, this weird, my puzzle piece doesn't quite fit. And once you start to brush this off and you start to show this side of yourself and you start to accept this portion of yourself, it will actually, instead of having pushback from people, instead it'll start to draw people to you, because they'll start to realize, oh my gosh, I never realized that my partner was this incredible in the home. I never realized, or conversely, if you ask for a reduction in your hours at work, or you even move to a different job that perhaps will provide you with more spare time, a different setup, a different work environment, that even those people will understand it, as long as you go in with the intent of saying, I emotionally connect to being with my family. That's the meaning I give to everything I do in my life. I do things so that I support my family. And in doing so, it makes me feel good. It makes me see my purpose. It makes me understand that the pink side is always where I was meant to shine. And then if you go to look for a job with that intent, you will end up finding that job, the job that allows you to work half from home, or have a flexible schedule, or a position where they're actually maybe, or even the company itself is known for being very family friendly. And in doing that, you actually engage on a more authentic level, even in your work environment, because they're going to see what's important to you, and you're going to express it freely, and they're going to see it authentically. because you're not trying to hide something. You're not trying to climb the corporate ladder when all you really want to do, instead of burning the midnight oil, you just want to be at home snuggling on the couch with your family. And this is where it's important to understand what's important to you. And that first step comes from understanding what makes you feel happy. Emotionally connecting with yourself, with your authentic self, and being able to be honest with yourself, to then be able to authentically connect yourself with everything else. And so that would be, in this person's case, being able to express that the main thing in their life that they give importance to is being there for their family. And every time they go out into the world, that's going to be given meaning in some capacity, even at the grocery store, and what they choose to buy. And maybe they like to buy a specific, whatever it is, this brand for this kid, or this, they know their partner loves X, Y, and Z. And so even when they're in the grocery store, they're not frustrated, they're not rushing, because they're enjoying the moment of knowing that what they're doing is supporting their family on an emotionally fulfilling level. And you can imagine too that this is also what's beneficial to your family in the home, because you can have full faith that this is what you were always meant to do. It will provide everybody else in your life. Instead of you coming home from work frustrated and tired and disconnected, and your children suffer because of that, or your spouse suffers because of that, instead you come home aware, engaged. You're coming home with intent. Everything that you do, you end up having an appreciation for and gratitude for, because it is what you were meant to connect with. It was what is meant to give you meaning. So that's why I focus specifically on emotional connection. Now, I get it if you sit there and say, well, I'm at a place in my life where I can't emotionally connect to anything because I don't even know what makes me happy. I don't even know. I'm not happy with my job. I am not happy with my home life. Maybe you don't have a partner, or maybe you do. I'm not happy with where I live, whatever it is, my circumstances. What I find is the first step to emotional connection is going back in time and remembering yourself as a child before the world set in. And really connecting with a moment that perhaps brought you joy and a moment that didn't. Connecting with things you were praised for, that you were innately good at doing, and things that you were not, things that you didn't like to do, or didn't feel good to you, or you were forced to do. And then start to compare those things and bring them forward into your everyday life. I used to talk a lot about your inner child, and I do feel we all have to keep that inner child going. But I look at the inner child now as the inner child is not just a child. The inner child is your, what I call almost original experience of source energy coming through you. It's your original experience of your own unique spirit. It's what you used to daydream about. It's how you used to view the world before somebody told you not to see it this way. It's what you used to like to do in your spare time before somebody told you that you had to do this instead of this. And so that's a good tip and a great starting place. And if, people book one-on-one sessions with me, that's generally where I start if there is a complete lack of emotional connection. Another great place to start is being able to just what I call active visualization. You can call it meditation, but I think a lot of people have this not negative connotation with meditation, but I've heard a lot when I bring it up, people instantly put up their hand and say, I can't meditate. I can't turn off my mind. I don't have 10 minutes to be quiet and alone. I don't have a mountaintop to go sit at and om on. And that's not what meditation is. So meditation for me is active visualization. It's being able to sit with yourself, and it can be as simple as sitting with yourself for 2 minutes It doesn't have to be an hour. It doesn't have to be you hiking out to some amazing plateau and sitting cross-legged, like all the pictures we see on social media. It is literally you just connecting on an emotional level with your source energy. You don't have to clear your mind. You don't have to listen to weird things. Although I do specifically find sound healing to be very beneficial. Something I'll probably talk about in another video, but you don't have to do those things. You can literally just sit for 2 minutes with yourself and connect with yourself. And that connection, I find, when you're finding that you have gone through your day and you almost don't remember what happened in it, that's when you're not emotionally connecting with your life. And you can reset that. It's almost like a jump start, like the paddles or the, jumper cables for a car. You can jumpstart your engagement with life again by simply sitting with yourself and engaging with a time in your life or an instance or even just an image of where something made you feel so happy you almost wanted to cry. And to just sit with that, to try to find anything. Again, it could be you just hugging your child, or the first time you got a chance to hop on a plane and travel to another country, or when you found out you got accepted to a college you always wanted to get into. Whatever it is, tap into that moment of pure, unbridled, makes you get verklempt type of joy, and sit with that. And then when you disengage from that active visualization of that moment or instance in your life, then bring that feeling forward into your reality in that moment and start to look, to feel that, to bring that into every interaction and that awareness into every action. So every interaction that you get into and every action that you take, start to look, not only bring that feeling forward, but also start to look at what will make you feel that way. And that's a good way to kind of start to understand, whoa, what's off in my life? What doesn't feel right? Wait, and especially if you realize when you do these active visualizations, if you realize, man, I haven't felt like that. I haven't felt the way I felt when I traveled abroad, 15 years ago. I haven't felt like that in 15 years. Well, then it's time to start re-engaging with that side to yourself. It might not mean that you have to hop on a plane and leave your job or your family to go travel the world. What it does mean is that there's something in that experience that your soul, your spirit is longing for and also was meant to express. So it could be something like you're longing for adventure. You were meant to interact with a lot of people and be in a position maybe that had a lot of varying circumstances, maybe a position that forced you to travel or to be around different people every single day. But this is what your soul is calling you to do, to tap back into whatever made you happy in that moment and bring that forward back into your life. So if your moment where you feel like you want to cry, the happiest moment of your life is you hugging your child, well then clearly if you're feeling like you haven't felt that way in a long time, that's the starting place. That's the connection. That's the connection between you and your external environment. And it's your direct connection to it. So that's where you start. And you start connecting right there. It's almost like you're plugging back into reality, and reality is plugging back into you. And you are plugged into source. And that's how this is all connected. So I hope this has been not only, I'd say, enlightening, but for you to get a little bit of an idea of how I view our emotional connection. Because in reality, again, emotional connection is what really grounds our, who we are, but grounds it in the physical world. It's what gives meaning to what we experience. Because again, if we were always in our head, just looking at something, almost like a projection of what's going on in our life, but we were never feeling anything, then at that point you're not engaged. You're literally watching a movie. You're watching somebody else go through the motions. And that's not what we're meant to do here. And unfortunately, when you also emotionally disconnect, you don't shine as brightly and you're not shining correctly. And so you can miss a lot of things that you were meant to do or meant to show others. So let's say you were meant to be the innovator. You're meant to shine a light in a very specific way that was going to highlight something very specific. So let's say you were meant to go into the science, a science-based field, and you've always been interested in maybe magnets. Maybe as a kid you played with magnets and you were wildly fascinated by magnets, and you always were interested then in, the properties of magnetism and electromagnetism. But, as things went on, maybe you pushed that side of yourself down because you couldn't get a position in that field, and so you decided to do something else over here, but you just keep thinking about this side to yourself. You keep thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it, but you end up just forcing yourself to be in this box over here. And you let one of these facets be covered. Well, perhaps you were always interested in magnets and electromagnetism because you were meant to innovate or create something new on that level, or to shine a light on it so that somebody else who's also interested in it could say, wait a second, I never saw it like that. Hold on a sec, I also have an idea. And that's why it's important to follow those strange yearnings. Important to follow that, what we call a gut instinct, our intuition, whatever it is that you call it yourself, that's your spirit trying to come out. That's the best part of you. That's the part that's going to, not only in you expressing it and shining it out into the world, not only will it elevate your experience because you're shining more, you're able to see more. Imagine if you were in a car with a dirty windshield and you're driving and you're missing all of the beautiful things that you're driving through. You could be driving through one of the most beautiful places in the world, and yet you have this dirty windshield, so you're kind of only half seeing everything, and you're like, man, this is a really boring drive. Like, I'm over this. And it might even become dangerous at a certain point. You might be driving and almost like hitting things and running into things and actually becoming a danger to other people in other circumstances. Then not only are you missing the beautiful picture you're supposed to be seeing for yourself, but you're also, damaging the full experience and possibly harming somebody else. And that's kind of what happens when you don't allow yourself to fully shine the light that you're meant to see by. And therein, also dimming our collective light. You're dimming so imagine if we are all almost like projectors, or we're all pieces of a rainbow. We are all connected to source, to that one laser beam of light, and we are all meant to refract a specific light. We are the rainbow. We're each part of the rainbow. And if we don't shine our brightest, then the image that we're meant to show, the highest potential of the image of our collective experience, will never be seen or truly experienced by us. We'll always kind of be a little away from it. And with that, in not being able to see the beautiful higher perspective of what is the human potential, that's where we fall into fear and anxiety and even anger and violence, because we can't see the bigger picture. We're driving with a dirty windshield, and it can be terrifying. I think not only would it be frustrating and boring, it would be terrifying, because what if you are hitting people? What if you're not on the right road? What if you're not, going in the direction you were meant to go in? And that's really where the disconnect, that's why it's so important for us to understand ourselves, to understand what we're meant to shine, which is our own unique abilities, and how we can connect those to others and to our external environment. And that's the importance behind that. So it's not only important for you to do that, to feel meaning and fulfillment in your life and happiness and joy. But it's also to help others do the same. And therein, your world becomes illuminated. You illuminate first from within. You light that eternal flame from within, and you illuminate it outwards so that everything is illuminated for you. I hope this has been interesting. I know it's a little longer than anticipated, but I really do feel this is important. And this is what I work with in I'm Illuminated, in both coaching and the intuitive demonstrations, which is tarot reading and just intuitive channeling that I do. And I would love to work with you or anybody that you know who could benefit from tapping into themselves and feeling what it feels like to fully engage as you with everything, and knowing that you're doing your part in helping elevate all of humanity at the same time. All right, guys, I'll see you in video 3, which will actually go into transcending your own circumstances through understanding who you are and through emotional connection, connecting yourself with your external environment, as well as talking a little bit more about intuitive demonstration and what that is and why I use it. All right, guys, see you in the next video. Bye.